Welcome to Leadership Matters, a podcast hosted by me, Steve Parker. This is a series that brings a fresh perspective to leadership motivation and how to succeed by talking to a diverse range of CEOs, business managers, and world-class talent. We also offer some personal tips to help you in your career. Each episode aims to provide a snapshot into the life and philosophy of some of Taiwan and the world's most successful leaders, and to find out more about why leadership matters. I'm very lucky today to have Kuan Chen in the studio. Kuan is the founder and creative director of Storywear. This is Taiwan's only zero-waste designer fashion brand. Storywear headlined 3 successive Taipei Fashion Weeks from 2019 to 2022, was selected for the Taipei City Government Social Enterprise Development Program, and received the prestigious Asia-Pacific Social Innovation Partnership Award and Buying Power Award from the Taiwan Ministry of Economic Affairs in 2021. This was a result of having supported the Cerebral Palsy Association to raise over 40 million NT through a fantastic and innovative public outreach campaign. Kuan was educated in Canada. She's got a master's degree in fashion management from the University of the Creative Arts in the UK. She's a branding and marketing specialist with over 10 years of experience in the fashion industry, and she's chosen to do what she does now, Storywear. We're going to hear a bit more about that. It's so good to have you here. I mean, I've been doing this podcast now for 2 years, and I've been chasing you for 2 years to come on this show. So it's welcome.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now you've had an amazing career. I mean, you studied, as I mentioned in the intro, you studied fashion. Mm-hmm. That's your thing. You've taken that and you've actually made it into do I call it a social enterprise? Would you use that word?
Yeah, for us, we are a social enterprise and also a fashion designer brand.
Right. I've always argued that this is the future of business. Is it, business that does good, business that takes the kind of the element of making the world a better place as part of its kind of KPIs, measure yourself on how you affect the world. But you still have to make money, right? You still have to have a successful business.
Exactly. Yeah. I think the theory that you mentioned is so correct, so right, because for us, I think every business should be social enterprise, not just us, like everyone, the big company, they should be social enterprise. And social enterprise means you generate profit, but also do good things.
It's like measuring everything that you do, your impact, right? You've got to measure the whole thing. I mean, I've known you for a very long time, and I've been sort of involved on the outskirts of watching you and your business
from
grow.
Really small, like it's from scratch till now.
I remember you kind of, almost, I don't want to say begging, but do you know anybody who has some spare denim or, like recycled denim we can use? And I remember you building this thing and you've had places, I've seen you having kind of pop-up stores. I've seen you having, getting designs and pushing them out there and sharing them. And now you've just come back from Amsterdam, right?
Yeah.
Fashion, what do you call this, Fashion Week or whatever it is? What is
it was Denim Day in Amsterdam.
Okay.
And also there's Milan Design Week. So we were there for survey and also for trade.
Right. This is, coming from this kind of quirky little social enterprise as people viewed it back at the time, right? And now you're a genuine fashion powerhouse.
Yes. We're really lucky. Yeah.
It's a great journey though.
It is. And then we're lucky because we only started up for 4 years. And I was one-man company when we met. One woman, yes. And after 4 years, now we are attending Fashion Week every year. And then usually one show we have like 500 people attend. And we are the only Upcycle design ready-to-wear brand in Taiwan. And we have 2 flagship shop right now. So it's expanding quite fast, and it's good. I mean, we really want to prove people that social enterprise can make money.
Let's come back to the social enterprise bit a little bit later. But now, I mean, this is really talking about leadership on here. And I want to talk about from a startup to a point, how many employees do you have working? I mean, part-timers or whatever. How many people are in the universe now?
Right now, 11 people.
I'm assuming there must have been some kind of process of you get to know people. Some people don't really fit in. We'll have to move on, right? And then you find the ones that you think are going to be able to contribute longer term. But how do you go through this process of finding people that get what you do and are willing to be involved and also can contribute? finding people.
It's people is the most difficult part. Even we are struggling right now. Still, we are looking for partners and we are looking for impact investment, and we need really good partners. By working together, like employment, it's really hard. People comes and goes, and I think the most important things I just realized recently that you really need to like the concept of the company. When you're choosing people, you need to focus on what the core value of the company, and if it's the people recognize that value. And that's very fundamental things. Once they really recognize your value, they work for you, and it will be really easier to communicate. So before I was like, we really have budget concern. So, everyone coming here is like freshmen and cheap labor, not standard labor.
How do you deal with that? How do you like put an advert out saying, we really want awesome people who are amazing, who are willing to work for nothing? I mean,
it's difficult. Yeah. But still, I think that's the benefit being social enterprise. Well, a lot of young people right now, they choose the company. They don't really go with really high salary, but need to, work really butts off for their company. They work for the value. So when we look, the people who work for us, nowadays, people really love sustainable fashion, and they really want to learn something from the company. And that's what we can offer. And we don't just offer local informations or, how the operation goes. We also going overseas internationally. And that's something that as a fashion designer in Taiwan, they cannot reach of. Because even for a fashion brand in Taiwan, they don't really go internationally. So I think there's a good chance.
So this is a super interesting point, because people accuse Taiwan all the time of not being able to do branding. And to be honest, I understand why. I understand where this kind of comes from, because often in Taiwan, companies are more obsessed with the cost and the return and immediate short-term value, right? I need to sell this. It's trading. It's a trading kind of mentality. I think our culture here is very much based on trading. You, however, you've gone beyond that, right? You're an international brand now. How do you go about building this brand story is super interesting. How do you go about building a brand and remaining true to that brand?
Well, I think that's initially why I started Storywear, because I really want to create a brand that represents Taiwan. And Taiwan is such a good place to create this sustainable fashion industry, because we have really great textile company in Taiwan and giant textile manufacturer in the world in Taiwan. It's all like from Taiwan, but we are lack of building branding, just like you said. And we really want to create something that represents Taiwan. Then we can bring Taiwan to international market and people recognize, there's this place called Taiwan. So that's the initial things when I start the company. And from that, branding is the key in Storywear. And by building a fashion brand, you need branding, that's for sure. And since for Storywear, everything is upcycle, made by recycled jeans and textile deadstock fabric. And the maker who make our products are people in need in Taiwan, like women locally. And also some is from cerebral palsy family that like kids they have cerebral palsy symptoms. And
so I mentioned that in the beginning that you did a lot of work with the cerebral palsy, and you raised 40 million NT through your fashion brands, and you continued to support.
Yes.
By giving employment to people who may not otherwise be able to work. I think that's coming back to the social enterprise aspect. I want to talk more about the branding, but you brought this up. It's really interesting. The social enterprise aspect of what you do is, I don't want to say it's giving back to the community, because it's not, but it's giving opportunities to other abled people who may not be able to, or would not be trusted by some communities to do the work. But you're giving them an opportunity and you're seeing the results, and the results are fantastic.
Yes. And it's actually building on my branding. And we this month is Fashion Revolution month for us. So Fashion Revolution is an organization from UK, based in UK, and it's about transparency. They are promoting transparency in fashion industry. And now this is a promotion tool for us, and we are actually doing that, exactly showing the transparency process about our brand. So this is actually this whole process is adding the value to my branding. And not just that a manufacturer brand that, only showing beautiful things, but we showing people that fashion can be something else. And that's a branding as well. So adding up to fashion and social enterprise, and that actually put us into this really unique place.
So how do you go about being authentic though? And I've seen this before where people go, CSR is really important 20 years ago, or social enterprise is the thing. I want to make a social enterprise and that'll be good for my brand,
Yes.
I don't think you can do it that way around. I feel like you have to have the core value and the core goal first before you can build a brand out of it. I think you have to, but I'm interested to, did you look at it and go, what's a good thing to kind of have as a core value and go and get that? Or did you have this, was this in you already?
Well, like working with the local women's not my initial intention. At the beginning, for me, it's like, I'm going to create something. I'm going to create a fashion brand, that's it, because I love fashion. But I don't want fashion to be damaging the environment. So I decide to use something that's not brand new. I want to, reduce the garment waste in the society. That's the most important thing I ever wanted. So like you said, like being a fashion brand, you need to be fashionable. And that's the most key things. So when we had this first pop-up shop, we met at the Huashan. So everyone, they don't think this is made from upcycle, recycled denims. They think this is just denim jacket. So people love the product first, and then they found out the story behind it, and they got hooked. So the most important things is about the products, that's for sure. And as a fashion brand, you need to be really fashionable and then go on the trend and being classic. I think that's still most important things.
So it's interesting, your name is Storywear. There's a story behind the name. I've been in sales and marketing for a very long time, but also, as you know, you and I have worked together on projects and stuff like that. CSR into social enterprise, this has also been a very big part of my life. I think you always have to give back. But as you say, you have to have at the basic core of it all, you have to have a good product. You have to have something. It's not enough to say to people, well, hey, my product is helping rural communities, so you have to buy it. If your product is terrible, right? This is what I'm hearing from you. If your product is terrible, why
exactly.
would it, right?
Yes.
So you've still got to have a good product. So this is where social enterprise comes in, right? It's an organization that has to be a good company. You have to have a good product, a good story, and then you have to have values, core values, like yours are. You wanted to create fashion but not damage the environment. That's your core belief. At what point did you kind of start reaching out to the wider community, like the women in trouble, the cerebral palsy? At what point did you start to reach out to work with these disadvantaged groups?
Well, at the very beginning, because when we looking for factory to manufacture our clothes, there's no factory want to make our clothes. So that's why, because no factory willingly to disassemble denims for you. Our collection, we disassemble jeans first and then put it back together, make it into jacket. So this process needs to be 100% handmade. And there's no factory willingly to do that. So we spent around like 1.5 years to set up the whole manufacture process. So during that period of time, we look into, back in 30 years ago in Taiwan was a really big manufacturer country. So a lot of tailors in Taiwan, they actually really good at making clothes because they used to make a lot of clothes. But just because, the industry shipping into China or Cambodia, so people lost their job. So we still have a lot of women like that in Taiwan. So now they belong to NGOs or they work at home by themselves. So now we just work with them and they really help us to manage this whole entire collections.
Did you connect with any particular NGOs? A lot of people have an idea, right? I want to work with underprivileged groups, but if you don't, if there's nobody in your environment that is,
Yeah, you have to look for it.
Right.
I attend those government's events helping, different kinds of women in need. And also you need to search it for it and you'll see. And people will refer to you as well.
Right, just start on the journey, right?
Yes, and we're still looking for more people to make our garments. So willingly to email us if you have inquiry.
We'll give you the emails at the end and it'll be on the website. Please just click below and subscribe.
Yes.
But I want to talk about this. I don't want to call it networking, right? Because networking has a sort of a business connotation. And some people hear networking and go, oh, I don't want to do networking. But what you're really good at, the advice that I often give people when they come in, especially younger people that work for me, I always say, you've got to be in the room, right? Get yourself in the room. You know, there are lots of rooms in the world, but you're never going to get an opportunity or a job or whatever if you're not actually in the room where people are, right? What that room is a totally different thing. It could be, it could be chat groups, it could be, networking events, it could be anything, but you've got to be in the room. You're really good at being in the room. I don't think, you're not like super outgoing. You're not like, life of the party kind of person, but you're really good at being in the right room. Do you have a kind of a process for networking and how to go out there? And, I'm looking for advice here for people who are trying to build useful networks. I've been to your parties, I've been to your events, I've been to your things. The people that turn up there, I'm like, wow, what?
How do you know each other?
You've got Arfu, you've got Soda Green, you've got all these, like super celebrities and stuff like that. People that I've seen in commercials, I've seen places, and they're supporting your brand, they're supporting your, how do you get in the room with these sorts of people?
I don't know, actually. That's a tough question. This sounds really easy question, but I don't know. But I think the key thing is when I starting Storywear, once I tell them our values and what we are doing, we attract the right people with the same value or the same promise they want to do for their life. And so, for instance, Afu, the musician, he was building up this zero waste concert. So he really want to helping the musician in Taiwan to grow their talent. As we say that the information is too much nowadays. Like you can't, even for the music industry, every minute there's like 100 songs produced and people forget about it next day. So that's really frustrate him. And that's why he want to create a zero waste concert, which is net zero. Currently net zero concert, and inviting not the famous celebrities, but the people with talent that they can perform on this concert and everything. So our concept clicked, and we are doing fashion, they are doing music, and we combine together to produce a fashion show. So I think the universe helps you. Seriously.
Okay, that's the easy answer, right? It's okay. Just the universe will help you.
Exactly.
There is a theory, though, that some people talk about that if you're and I've read a Harvard study years ago, and I wish I could find it, but I read this Harvard study that said one of the key factors for success for anybody is basically likability. Don't burn bridges. Don't be I can't use certain words because we're recording this, but don't be that kind of person, right? And at some point, the universe will come back and support you and help you if you're, people generally forgive people that are nice, right? If they're maybe not quite as good at their job, but they're a good person, there's more leeway. There's more, and they're more willing to help you. And maybe, I feel like, maybe I'm wrong here, but I feel like what happens with you is that people just want to help you.
Yeah.
So I think basically you're just a good person.
I think so. Well, and I help people too. So like we helping each other, just like the local, the maker, we don't really put them into this very vulnerable group. We don't describe that. It's more like we helping each other. We are partners. And so when there's something coming up, they come to us, maybe some funding come out, they will be like, Kuan, you should apply this. That Taoyuan government will love you. And then they introduce each other. Or, the celebrity they introduce us to them and then would be their stylist. And I think it's like helping each other out. It helps to spread this network bigger and bigger.
Right. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of things coming from you here, but one of the things I'm just hearing is like, basically just be nice, right?
But sometimes you need to protect yourself too.
Right.
Yes. But nice is really important because the circle is really small, like social enterprise circle, fashion industry, eco-friendly industry. So everyone knows everyone. So just...
Yeah, what goes around comes around, right?
Yes.
Right. I've just finished a couple of weeks at Mingchuan Daxue where I've been looking at these, they've been doing kind of online CVs, but they want to put kind of videos out there to say, I'm looking for work and how. And so I've been a judge and a mentor on this program, very, very short program. What I've noticed about most of the people who are putting these CVs and stuff out there, that they're coming across like, here's what I want to do. I want to build my own business. They're not talking about jobs. They're not really talking about money either. They're talking about the thing that I feel passionate about, right? They want to do the thing that they feel passionate about. Do you have advice or thoughts on how to take that? Because you've done this and you've done it very, very well, is to take your passion project. One, how do you decide if it's got legs? How do you decide if it can actually get there? And then how do you take the first step, second step, third step to go, right? And my third question is, how do you keep believing, you know?
Yeah, I think that's really important questions because nowadays a lot of young people, they have dreams and passions, but we really need to measure what you are really good at. You love to draw, but you don't have the skill to draw, then that's your passion and that's your interest.
Right, that's on you. Do that in the bedroom.
Yeah? Yes. Yes. So really, you need to measure what you're really good at and you really like to do, and you learn that even you don't know how to draw, but if you're willingly to go deep into it and practice into really professional in a way, then you can start career from there. So from passion to dream come true, dream is a really romantic word nowadays, but I keep telling young people that it's a hard work. You need to bust yourself. For us, it's like we need to generate money as well as draw a fashion design collection and managing people and do marketing, everything together. So what you're really good at, that's something you need to survey yourself first. And are you willingly to sacrifice all your time to go deep into this dream that you really want to accomplish? And from there, what you're good at and what your passion is, and combine together, and then you go to the next step. And when you're starting up your company or you go into this career that you're really passionate about, and keep trying. Before you start our company, I really think that you need to go into different kind of field, like related field, to experience what does it really like to do that job. So before I start out my company, I was in trade, I was in local fashion designer brands, and I was in advertising agency, PR agency. I've been through a lot. And then I know that, okay, now I do have this talent and the experience to do what I'm really good at. So you really need this whole process and in order to develop into now.
I think this is a really good message here because, what I've been hearing over the last couple of weeks from 20-somethings who are talking about they're all talking about the end game, right? They're talking about where they're going to be. But that journey, it's for every successful person you see, there's a couple of weeks at Starbucks, maybe there's a couple of years working in a 7-Eleven, maybe there's, an apprenticeship in a not so fashionable fashion house, maybe there's you got to learn, and everything that you do makes you, shapes you, helps you to get where you are now, right? I mean, you look very, very young. But, you have some life experience, right? You've been doing things. You've had, as you've said, you've had all those different experiences that you've gone through. And without those, right, what I'm hearing from you is without those, I wouldn't.
Won't be like now, today.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So this idea too of picking up the skills that you need. I think a lot of people, I'm not interested in that. I don't want to do that. But I think there are certain basic things like, you have to do marketing, right? You have to do sales. You have to understand what a website is, or if you want one, or make decisions about those. You have to have a vision. People say, well, I want to be a different company. But you still there are some basic things, right, you need to put in place. You've got to be able to understand the accounts, right?
Exactly. I hate math, but I need to study finance now.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Again, I'm hearing these from you that you kind of, you need to pick up the skills, right? If you've got a goal, a dream, a passion. I was listening to a Hollywood actor the other day, and they were talking about how you've got to live your dream. And this is coming from someone who has made movies and earns $20 million a movie, right? So their dream has kind of come true. But if you go to LA, on the streets of LA, for every $20 million actor, there are 500,000 people in the streets who have the same dream. Not everybody's going to get there. So what separates them? And this is, I guess, my question for you, right? What separates the dream from the reality? Who's going to make it and who's not going to make it? And what can you do to prepare yourself?
I think that's a really important key thing, to keep listening to leader and development. Seriously.
Keep leading to this podcast.
Yes.
Right? Listen to this podcast and you will get there.
You'll get there. Seriously, because sometimes luck is quite important things, but that maybe generate like 10% of it. And you need to be prepared for 90% of yourself. Because once you have everything, if you're smart, you're hardworking, and then you already, yourself is totally ready, then you need to go out there. That's the thing. Then keep trying, keep meeting people, and network is super, super important. If once you know a lot of people or, different segments, you can put it together, generate together, and help you grow bigger and bigger. So after you are ready, then you need to step up into the market and then let people know you and promote yourself massively. That there's no shortcut.
I've met people. I do a lot of work with universities. As I said, I do some training, teaching, some lecturing and stuff like that. It's not about me, but but the students that stand out to me are the ones that come up to me and ask. Whether I'm the font of all wisdom or not is another question, right? I'm not necessarily the person that knows everything, but there's an opportunity of someone being in front of you, and you see some students will kind of just hang back of the class or whatever. Some come up to me, and you also see the ones that are interacting with everybody else as well. And unless you're a brain surgeon, right? There are certain skills that you have to have, and it has to be very, very specific to the job, scientific kind of skills. But everything else, business is, as you're saying, it's about meeting people and building these communities, right?
Yeah, because once you step up and you communicate with people, they remember you. So when things come up, some project come up, they think about you. So that's how, because we do a lot of cooperation gifting and CSR for the company. And why there are so many social enterprise on the market, but why do they choose Storywear? It's because we keep this relationship with them and then keep sending newsletter to them and WeChat, Line, or, Twitter, LinkedIn, and to the Facebook. So keep connect, and then they then remember you. I think it will come to you.
So I think, again, I come back to the name Storywear, because everything is about the story, right? I talk to my salespeople, I talk to my marketing people, and everything I'm always telling them is always about, one, what's the story? That's the vision, this sort of stuff. The second thing is, how can we retell the story another time to the same people? You need to be getting information out, but you also can't be just saying the same thing every time. You have 11 people. How many of those people are marketing people?
I think everyone. we force everyone to be there. Because when we interview them, we'll be like, do you like sustainability? Like, you don't have to love sustainable fashion, but are you do you like this concept and everything? And we will tell them that you represent the company. So every letter you roll out, every message you go out, it's about represent this brand. So it's really important. Even our makers, because nowadays, if some press come to us, they do the video, interviews. They interview the makers, our sample makers. So they need to tell the story. And if it's not from the heart, it's not real.
Basically, everyone is a marketing person. I think it's a great idea. I've tried many times over many different, and I've been successful in a couple of organizations where I feel that I worked for as you know, through the British Chamber of Commerce. I worked for a long time. For those 7 years, every single one of our staff was very passionate about everything that we did. And we were always talking about the story of, what do we do? Why are we doing this? And I think was it Simon Sinek or whatever his name is, always asked, what's the why? Right? You got to start from the why. It sounds like your why is super clear. You knew what you wanted to do. Even
though everyone has different angle about Storywear. So for our sample makers, she just loves to reduce garments. And she thinks that's her lifetime mission about reducing the waste. And for our fashion designer, our in-house designer, they love to do upcycle design. So they create this, how to make a pattern that there is zero waste pattern making. So when we're making a garment, we cut off the fabric, a lot of leftover fabric come out. So our designer is that they will innovate or design into this one piece of clothes that with no leftover at all. So, everyone is from different angle to to accomplish this sustainable fashion mission. So it's quite good. And because the why is because of this, the whole concept of sustainable fashion, they love the concept and they are using their own way to achieve it.
I'm always very sad because these conversations have to end. Was there a pivotal moment in your life that changed you, that said, because I know you've done jobs before, you worked in advertising, you worked in fashion. Was there a moment that you just kind of woke up? Was it a day that you just woke up and said, here's what I'm going to do? Was it a slowly burning flame that kind of ignited in your brain over a period of time? Or what changed you?
By creating Storywear? Well, when I was little, I always want to have a fashion brand myself because my parents has a Taiwanese fashion brand, and branding is what I love because I found out that when I was in my university years. So I studied advertising design, and branding is something I'm really passionate about. But what industry should I go into? That's the key. So I choose fashion industry, and it's influenced by my parents, and from there, I know that's my goal. But what kind of fashion? That's what I was reaching for until I studied my master in UK. Then I realized, okay, sustainable fashion is something I really want to. So it is gradually come out to Storywear.
Kind of do what you know, right? I mean, you came from a background where you had resources, right? And if you didn't have the parents, I'm sure you're the sort of person who would have sought out mentors, or you would have you would have found people. You're lucky that you've had your parents as a kind of as a background to help you understand the industry. But for those of you who don't come from a background, lucky enough to come from a background, seek out mentors, right? Seek out people in the industry. One of the tricks that I've found over the years is that if you ask people, they'll tell you.
That's so true. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right? I mean, if someone comes up to me, I'm in my 50s now, and if someone comes up to me of any age and says, hey, I've heard that you do X or whatever, got any advice for me, or how would I get into it? I'm going to talk for an hour, right? I mean, if someone came up to you and said, or called you or emailed you, said, I'm really interested in social enterprise, would you meet them for a cup of coffee?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, right? Exactly.
So here's the advice to anybody who's trying to build something. Reach out, if people are findable now, you can go online and you can find how to contact someone, send them a note, or just, reach out to them and say, I'm really interested. I want to,
Yes. The beginning of Storywear, we use LinkedIn a lot because we need to reach out into big shots. So
stalkerware.
Yes. And for example, Neven from KPMG, it's right. He is a board
one
of
the
KPMG.
Gods. One of the gods, right? He's amazing.
And that's really surprisingly the first year of Storywear. We LinkedIn through message him through LinkedIn, and he's like, okay, yeah, let's chat. And I was only one person company, and then we chat for 2 hours. Wow. So yeah, it was amazing.
I don't know what this is in English, but the guiren, right? Right?
Yes.
Just like someone who just helps you when you need it, and it's kind of always been there for you, and it's amazing. I mean, here's the message here, a simple message is reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out to people. This comes back to my thought about being in the room, right? You've got to find the room, get into the room.
Yes, and
right?
reach out.
and reach out. I just want to kind of summarize some of the things you've said because they've been really, really super cool. I had a lot of questions for you, and I haven't touched on half of them. But what I've heard from you today is things like people are one of the hardest things. Finding the right people is hard. So I guess if you find the right people, value them, but make sure that the people understand what your core values are when you're going through that interview process. I'm hearing also that now more and more people don't really work for money. They're working for an idea, a passion, a concept. So if you sell them properly on the concept and they understand it, they're going to come work with you. Be international, build a brand. Don't build a business, build a brand. Your idea of, and this aligns totally with me here, is that every company ultimately should and will be a social enterprise in the future. And I agree with that completely. And if you see the big companies, they're moving towards that now too. They're trying to create they're actually creating these sort of shared value propositions, right? They're building impact, ESG, et cetera, into their KPIs. Networking, we've talked a lot about networking, get in the room, ask people questions, don't be afraid. Nobody's ever rejected me if I've just said hello.
Yes.
Don't be creepy about it, right? But don't have a purpose or a goal. Don't sell people stuff, right? Just ask them. I need your help. How can I do this? Learn about what you're really good at and what you're not. And then what I heard from you is you went out and found the skills. If you really don't have them, find somebody who can do them, right? Outsource it or something. This other thing about luck being a little bit important. You got to be in the room, you got to meet people, you got to network, but luck does play a part. But nobody ever got lucky if they didn't actually do anything, right? Just sitting in your room thinking about something, you're never going to get there, right? Get out in the world, and if you're a bit lucky, then maybe it'll work out. This idea, I love this one, is where you're talking about everybody in your company as a marketing person. Everybody down to the supply chain. If your supply chain is not able to express your vision, then you've done something wrong. So make sure that everybody is aware of the vision, aware of what you're doing, and is promoting the vision of the company. And get the story clear, right? Know what it is that you're actually selling, know what your brand is. And the last thing I kind of heard, we were talking a little bit about this, was kind of do what you know. You came from something, you came from a background and you had that knowledge, but you turned it into something that was yours. But you had this basic kind of knowledge, and they always talk about this, writers supposed to write about what you know, musicians write about what they know. If you're a guitarist, you don't go out and play the piano tomorrow. Use a guitar, but make it your own, create your own style. And I see that you've done that very, very clearly with Storywear, and it's the story's just begun, as they say.
Wow, that's a wonderful slogan. Storywear just began.
You can use that one, I'll give it to you. Is there any kind of last advice you'd like to give people as you kind of, wander off into the distance today?
Well, as I think I love to share with people that doing good things can really make money. Put sustainability into every action that you are making is a key, and it can really help the world become a better place.
Wow, that's a wonderful line to finish on. Kuan, it's been, as always, a joy talking to you. Thank you very much for coming in today.
Thank you.
You can listen to this podcast live on the fourth Monday of every month on ICRT, and after that on the ICRT website, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for Leadership Matters by Steve Parker. You can also check out my social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, everything. We'll see you next time.